Marriage is trust. Trust is like a hull. One leak and you're bailing for life. I'm Nathan Brooks, and at 32, I thought I'd found my safe harbor in Lily Carter. Wrong. Dead wrong. It was 3:15 a.m. when I caught her red-handed, phone glowing in our darkened bedroom like a guilty conscience. She was texting someone named Evan with heart emojis and promises that made my stomach turn. Working late again tomorrow, babe. Photo shoot runs until midnight. Photo shoot. Right. The only thing getting shot was our marriage. I'm a financial analyst here in Millfield, Massachusetts, a coastal town where everyone knows everyone's business, except apparently mine. Our house sits on Maple Street, 3 blocks from the marina where I keep my 26-foot sailboat. It's a good life, or was supposed to be. Lily stirred beside me, her blonde hair catching moonlight through our bedroom window. 27 years old, Instagram perfect, and ambitious as hell. She wanted to be an influencer, a model, something bigger than our little town could offer. I supported her dreams, paid for her photography sessions, her wardrobe, her everything. Now I knew exactly what those photography sessions really were. I slipped out of bed and padded to my home office, a converted spare room lined with financial reports and sailing magazines. My laptop hummed to life, casting blue light across framed photos of happier times. Our wedding, sailing trips, dinner parties with friends who used to matter. Lily's iPad sat charging on my desk. She'd forgotten to log out of her messages. The conversation thread with Evan went back 3 months. 3 months of lies, excuses, and betrayal. My hands shook as I scrolled through increasingly explicit messages, plans for weekend getaways, and worst of all, mocking commentary about me. Nathan's so boring. All he talks about is spreadsheets and sailing. Poor baby. You deserve better. Can't wait to show you what a real man feels like. I screenshot everything. Every dirty detail. Every cruel joke. Every promise they made while I worked late to pay for her dreams. The floorboards creaked upstairs. Lily was awake. I closed the iPad and crept back to bed, my mind racing. She rolled over as I slipped under the covers. "Can't sleep?" she whispered, her voice soft with fake concern. "Just thinking about work," I lied, matching her tone perfectly. She snuggled closer, her hand finding my chest. "You work too hard, Nathan. Maybe I should give you something to help you relax." Irony was suffocating. Here she was, offering me her body while planning to give it to someone else tomorrow night. I wanted to confront her right then, to scream and rage and demand answers. Instead, I kissed her forehead and whispered, "Maybe tomorrow. I'm exhausted." She sighed dramatically. "You're always exhausted lately." If only she knew why. The next morning, Lily bounced around our kitchen like nothing had changed. She wore a tight black dress that showed off curves I'd once thought were mine alone. Her makeup was flawless, her smile radiant. "Big day today," she announced, pouring coffee into her travel mug. "The photographer wants to try some outdoor shots by the harbor." "Which photographer?" I asked casually, buttering my toast. "Evan Mallory. He's really talented. Does work for magazines in Boston." Evan Mallory. Now I had a full name. "Sounds expensive," I said. "Art is an investment, Nathan. You of all people should understand that." She kissed my cheek, leaving lipstick that felt like a brand. "Don't wait up. These creative sessions can run really late." After she left, I sat in my kitchen staring at the lipstick stain on my coffee mug. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake Ramirez, my old college roommate who'd moved back to town last year to start a tech company. "Drinks tonight? You look like you need them." Jake always could read me, even through text messages. I typed back, "Rain check. Got some research to do." Research meant finding out everything I could about Evan Mallory. It didn't take long. Social media made stalking almost too easy. Evan was 35, drove a BMW, owned a yacht at Millfield Marina, and specialized in artistic portraits of attractive women. His Instagram was a gallery of barely clothed models in provocative poses. Several wore wedding rings. This wasn't his first rodeo. I called in sick to work and drove to the marina. If Evan was local, someone would know him. The yacht club was buzzing with afternoon activity. Retirees maintaining their boats, younger guys like me grabbing lunch between meetings. Dolores McCann ran the marina office with iron efficiency and encyclopedic knowledge of everyone's business. At 45, she'd lived in Millfield her entire life and collected gossip like some people collected stamps. "Nathan," she called as I walked in. "Shouldn't you be at work?" "Playing hooky," I said, forcing a grin. Hey, Dolly, you know a guy named Evan Mallory? Keeps a boat here? Her expression darkened immediately. That piece of work? Slip 47, the white Catalina with too much chrome. Why? Just curious. Heard he does photography work. Photography, she snorted. That what they're calling it now? That man's been through more married women than a divorce lawyer. Wife doesn't know? My stomach dropped. Know what? Honey, I've seen 3 different women on that boat in the past month, and none of them were single. Your Lily was there last Tuesday, looking guilty as sin. The world tilted. Last Tuesday, Lily said she was having dinner with her friend Vanessa. You sure it was her? Blonde, about 5'6", drives that red Honda? Yeah, I'm sure. They didn't see me watching, but I got eyes, Nathan. I'm sorry. I thanked Dolly and walked to slip 47 in a daze. Evan's yacht was impressive, a 38-foot Catalina that probably cost more than my house. The name Shutter Speed was painted on the stern in gold letters. Cute. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Session going great. Might grab dinner after. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. The words felt like acid. I drove home and sat in my office, staring at the screenshots I'd taken. The evidence was overwhelming, but I needed more. I needed them to hang themselves completely. That evening, I activated the Find My iPhone feature on Lily's phone, something I'd set up months ago for safety that she'd forgotten about. The little dot showed her location at the Seaside Inn, 6 miles outside town. I drove there slowly, my hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline. The parking lot was half empty, but I spotted Lily's red Honda immediately, parked next to a silver BMW. Through the second-floor window of room 237, I could see shadows moving against drawn curtains. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, taking photos of the license plates, the hotel, the timestamp on my phone. Then I walked to the BMW and left a note under the windshield wiper. Smile for the camera, a friend. Let them wonder. I was home by 9, sitting in my recliner with a beer and a sailing magazine, when Lily walked in at 11:30. Her hair was mussed, her makeup smudged, and she reeked of cologne that wasn't mine. How was the photo shoot? I asked without looking up. Exhausting. Evan's such a perfectionist. We must have done 100 takes. She kicked off her heels and stretched dramatically. I'm going to shower. Good idea, I said. You look like you worked up quite a sweat. She paused at the bottom of the stairs, studying my face for hidden meaning. Finding nothing, she smiled and headed up. I listened to the shower run and opened my laptop. Time to learn everything about Evan Mallory's business practices. If he was running a pattern, there would be traces. There were. Online reviews from angry husbands, complaints to the Better Business Bureau, even a restraining order from 2 years ago. Evan Mallory was a predator who specialized in married women, and my wife was just his latest victim. But she wasn't just a victim. Those messages showed she was a willing participant, an eager conspirator in destroying our marriage. The shower stopped. Lily's footsteps crossed our bedroom floor. Nathan, she called down, come to bed. I'm feeling inspired by another man's hands, another man's mouth, another man's promises. Be right up, I called back. But I wasn't going to bed. I was going to war. The next morning brought rain and revelation. While Lily slept off her exhausting photo shoot, I drove to Jake's office in the converted warehouse district downtown. His tech startup, Beacon Analytics, occupied the entire 3rd floor and buzzed with the energy of young programmers changing the world, one algorithm at a time. Jake looked up from his standing desk as I walked in, his dark eyes immediately concerned. At 28, he'd grown from my scrawny college roommate into a confident entrepreneur. But he still read my moods like a book. You look like hell, he said, closing his laptop. What's going on? I told him everything. The messages, the hotel, the pattern of predatory behavior. Jake listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each detail. Jesus, Nathan, I'm sorry, man. What are you going to do? I'm going to destroy them both, I said quietly. But I need help. Whatever you need. Information. Digital forensics. And maybe some creative problem solving. Jake grinned, the same mischievous smile I remembered from our college pranks. Now you're talking my language. We spent the morning building a comprehensive profile on Evan Mallory. Jake's resources were impressive. Business records, social media analytics, even credit reports that probably weren't entirely legal to access. The picture that emerged was ugly. Evan had a pattern. Target married women with social media aspirations, promise them modeling careers and magazine features, seduce them with luxury and attention, then move on when the novelty wore off. He'd left a trail of broken marriages and shattered dreams across 3 states. "This guy's a piece of work," Jake muttered, scrolling through testimonials from former victims. "Look at this. He's been sued 6 times in the past 5 years, always settles out of court. What about current victims? 3 active cases I can find. Your wife, a real estate agent from Salem, and a yoga instructor from Newburyport." He's got a type. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Another session today. This photographer really sees my potential. Might be late again." I showed Jake the message. He shook his head in disgust. "She's not even trying to hide it anymore." "That's because she thinks I'm stupid. Boring Nathan, all spreadsheets and sailing, too dull to notice his wife's having an affair." "Their mistake," Jake said. "What's the plan?" I'd been thinking about that all morning. Direct confrontation would only make them more careful. Legal action would take months and cost a fortune. Public humiliation, though, that was immediate and devastating. "We're going to let them hang themselves," I said. "But first, I need to know exactly how deep this goes." That afternoon, I drove to the marina for lunch at the Anchor Bar, a weathered dive where yacht club members gathered to drink beer and tell lies about their sailing exploits. The regulars called themselves the Yacht Rats, a collection of boat owners, marina workers, and sailing enthusiasts who treated the bar like their private club. Dolly was there, nursing a Diet Coke and holding court with 3 other women I recognized from various town committees. They looked up as I approached, their expressions sympathetic. "Nathan, honey," Dolly said, patting the empty stool beside her. "How are you holding up?" Word traveled fast in a small town. I sat down and ordered a beer. "Been better," I admitted. "You ladies hear anything else about our friend Evan?" The women exchanged glances. Martha Griggs, my elderly neighbor, leaned forward conspiratorially. "I saw your wife leaving with that Vanessa girl yesterday afternoon," she whispered. They were laughing about something, looked real pleased with themselves. Vanessa Doyle, Lily's best friend and partner in crime. I should have known she was involved. "What time was this?" "Around 2 o'clock. They got in Vanessa's car and drove toward town. That was before Lily's supposed photo shoot. They were planning something." "Martha," I said carefully, "you've got that security camera on your front porch, right?" "Sure do. Catches everything that happens on Maple Street." "Think I could take a look at yesterday's footage? I'm trying to figure out what time Lily left for work." It was a thin excuse, but Martha nodded eagerly. She loved being part of any drama. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Martha's living room watching security footage on her tablet. The camera had perfect views of both our driveways and the street beyond. At 2:17 p.m., Vanessa's white Lexus pulled into my driveway. Lily came out immediately, as if she'd been waiting by the window. They sat in the car for 10 minutes, talking animatedly. Lily gestured toward my house several times, and both women laughed. At 2:31 p.m., they drove away together. At 6:45 p.m., Vanessa's car returned. Lily got out, but instead of going inside, she walked to Vanessa's window. They talked for another 5 minutes, and I could see Lily nodding as if receiving instructions. At 7:02 p.m., Lily went inside our house. At 7:15 p.m., she came back out wearing the black dress, got in her Honda, and drove away. The timeline was damning. Lily and Vanessa had spent the afternoon planning her evening with Evan. This wasn't a spontaneous affair. It was a calculated deception. "Interesting viewing?" Martha asked, bringing me coffee. "Very educational," I said. "Martha, would it be possible to get a copy of this footage?" "Of course, dear. I'll email it to you right now." I thanked Martha and drove home with my head spinning. Lily wasn't just cheating, she was conspiring. And if Vanessa was involved, that meant other people knew. Other people were laughing at me, pitying me, treating me like the oblivious husband who couldn't see what was happening under his own nose. That stopped today. I spent the evening in my office, building a comprehensive case file. Photos, screenshots, timeline analysis, witness statements. If this were a financial investigation, I'd have enough evidence to convict. But this wasn't about conviction. This was about revenge. My phone rang at 9:30. Lily's name appeared on the screen. "Hey, babe," she said, her voice breathless with fake excitement. "The shoot's going amazing. Evan thinks I have real potential for magazine work." "That's great, honey. Where are you shooting?" "His studio. It's in this converted warehouse, very artistic. Listen, we're on a roll here, so I might be really late. Don't wait up, okay?" Sure thing. Hey, Lily? Yeah? I love you. A pause. I love you too, Nathan. The lie came so easily to her lips. After she hung up, I activated the Find My iPhone app. The little dot showed her location at the Seaside Inn again. Same room, same routine. But tonight, I wasn't just watching. I drove to the marina and parked near Slip 47. Evan's yacht was dark, which meant he was definitely at the hotel. I walked casually along the dock, checking boats like any evening stroller, until I reached shutter speed. The yacht was locked, but Jake had taught me a few things about bypassing simple security systems during our college years. The cabin door opened with minimal effort. Inside, Evan's floating studio was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive camera equipment, professional lighting, and a bedroom that doubled as a set. The walls were covered with photographs of his models, including several I now recognized as married women from surrounding towns. But it was the desk that provided the real treasure. Evan kept meticulous records of his conquests: names, addresses, phone numbers, even personal details about their marriages and vulnerabilities. Lily's file was 3 pages long and included notes like husband works late, wants modeling career, and easy target. I photographed everything, then searched the rest of the cabin. In the bedroom, I found a collection of jewelry that clearly belonged to different women. Wedding rings, earrings, necklaces, trophies from his conquests. Lily's wedding ring was in a small velvet box on the nightstand. The sight of it hit me like a physical blow. She'd been taking off her ring, pretending to be single, playing whatever role Evan wanted. Our marriage vows meant nothing to her. I pocketed the ring and prepared to leave. But then I had a better idea. In Evan's galley, I found his emergency flare kit and a tackle box full of fishing supplies. I opened every package of bait, sardines, anchovies, squid, and distributed the contents throughout the cabin, under cushions, in closets, behind equipment. By morning, the smell would be overwhelming, and by afternoon, every seagull and rat in the marina would know about it. I also loosened the connections on his bilge pump and opened the seacocks just enough to let water seep in slowly. Not enough to sink the boat, but enough to flood the cabin floor and ruin his expensive equipment. As a final touch, I left a note on his pillow. Some fish are too easy to catch. Try harder next time. I was back home by 11, sitting in my recliner with a beer when my phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Finishing up now. Home soon. Tonight was incredible. Incredible. She was right about that. At midnight, I heard her Honda in the driveway. She came in quietly, assuming I was asleep, and tiptoed upstairs. The shower ran for 20 minutes, washing off evidence, no doubt. When she finally came to bed, I pretended to wake up. How was the shoot? I mumbled sleepily. Really good, she whispered, sliding under the covers. Evan says I'm a natural. I'm sure you are, I said, rolling over to face away from her. She pressed against my back, her hand finding my shoulder. Nathan, are we okay? You seem distant lately. Just tired, I lied. Work's been stressful. Maybe we should take a vacation. Get away from everything. A vacation? With whose money, I wondered. Mine, of course. Always mine. Maybe, I said. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But tomorrow, we'd be talking about much more than vacation plans. Saturday morning brought chaos to the marina. I was eating breakfast when my phone rang, Dolly's voice crackling with barely contained laughter. Nathan, you need to get down here. That yacht of Evan's. It's a disaster. Smells like a fish market, and there's water everywhere. Harbor master's having a fit. Really? I said, fighting to keep my voice neutral. What happened? Nobody knows, but the whole dock stinks, and there's seagulls everywhere. Evan's down there screaming at anyone who'll listen, claiming it's sabotage. Sabotage? Who would do something like that? Dolly chuckled. Probably any husband in a 50-mile radius. That man's made enough enemies. I promised to stop by later and hung up, allowing myself a small smile. Phase 1 was complete. Lily emerged from our bedroom around 10, looking tired but satisfied. She wore one of my old college t-shirts and nothing else, a look that used to drive me crazy with desire. Now it just made me feel sick. Sleep well? I asked, not looking up from my newspaper. Like a baby. She poured coffee and sat across from me at our kitchen table. What's your plan for today? Thought I'd go sailing. Weather's perfect. Sounds boring, she said with a yawn. Vanessa and I are going shopping in Boston. Girls' Day. Of course they were. Probably planning their next move. Need money? I asked casually. I'll use the credit card. Which one? She looked at me strangely. The joint account Visa. Why? Just curious about our spending. I've been reviewing our finances lately. That was an understatement. I'd been doing much more than reviewing. After Lily left for her girls' day, I drove to my office downtown. Saturdays were quiet in the financial district, which gave me privacy for what I needed to do. I spent 3 hours systematically dismantling our joint financial life. Bank accounts, credit cards, investment portfolios, everything that connected us financially. I transferred my assets to accounts in my name only, canceled shared credit cards, and changed passwords on every system. It was all perfectly legal. The accounts were primarily funded by my income, and Massachusetts law allowed for asset protection during marital disputes. By Monday morning, Lily would discover she had access to exactly nothing. But first, I had a more immediate problem to solve. My phone had been buzzing all morning with texts from Jake. Emergency meeting, come to office ASAP. I found him pacing his workspace like a caged animal, his usually calm demeanor cracked with anxiety. "We've got a problem," he said without preamble. "I've been monitoring social media for mentions of you or Lily, and something big is coming." He showed me his laptop screen. Vanessa's Instagram account was loaded with cryptic posts about supporting friends through difficult times and standing up to controlling men. The comments were full of speculation and gossip. "It gets worse," Jake continued, clicking to another tab. "Look at this." Evan's Facebook page featured a long post about harassment and jealous husbands who couldn't accept their wives' success. He didn't mention names, but the implication was clear. They're setting up a narrative, I realized, making me the villain before I can expose them. Smart move, actually. Get ahead of the story, control the message. Not if I control the evidence. I showed Jake the photos from Evan's yacht, the records, the jewelry, the detailed files on his victims. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the images. "Holy shit, Nathan. This guy's a serial predator. These files go back years, and now we're going to make sure everyone knows it." We spent the afternoon building a comprehensive presentation, a digital portfolio that told the complete story of Evan Mallory's predatory behavior. Screenshots, photos, testimonials from previous victims, financial records showing his pattern of targeting married women. "What about Lily?" Jake asked as we worked. "This is going to destroy her too." "Good," I said without hesitation. She made her choice. By evening, we had everything ready. The presentation was devastating, thoroughly documented, and impossible to dismiss as jealous ranting. It would go live Monday morning, simultaneously posted to every social media platform, sent to local news outlets, and distributed to every member of the yacht club. But first, I had one more surprise to arrange. Sunday morning, I called Lily from my boat. "Hey, babe," I said, letting the sound of wind and water carry through the phone. "Beautiful day for sailing. Wish you were here." "You know, sailing makes me seasick," she replied, her voice distant. "Right. Anyway, I was thinking, why don't we have a dinner party next weekend? Invite some friends, celebrate your modeling success." A pause. "What modeling success?" "All those photo shoots with Evan. You must have some great pictures by now. We should show them off." "Oh, yeah, maybe. I haven't seen the final shots yet." "No problem. We'll make it a surprise party. I'll handle everything." "Nathan, you don't need to. I want to," I interrupted. "It's time our friends saw what you've been working on." After I hung up, I started making calls. Jake, Dolly, Martha Griggs, and a dozen other people who'd been watching this drama unfold. I invited them all to dinner Saturday night, promising revelations and entertainment. Then I called Vanessa. "Nathan," she answered with fake enthusiasm. "How are you?" "Great, Ness. Listen, I'm planning a surprise dinner party for Lily next Saturday. Can you make sure she's free?" "What kind of surprise?" "The good kind. I want to celebrate her new career opportunities." I could practically hear her calculating on the other end of the line. "That sounds nice. Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself. Oh, and maybe invite Evan. I'd love to meet this photographer who's been working so hard with my wife." Silence stretched between us. Finally, Vanessa spoke carefully. "I'm not sure Evan would be comfortable at a dinner party." "Why not? He's been such a big part of Lily's life lately. It would be rude not to include him." "I'll ask him." "Perfect. See you Saturday night." I hung up and smiled at the horizon. The trap was set. Monday morning brought the first explosion. Lily's scream from the kitchen told me she'd discovered her credit cards were declined. I found her standing at the counter in her bathrobe, holding her phone with shaking hands. "Nathan!" There's something wrong with our bank account. The card won't work. Really? That's strange. I poured coffee with studied calm. Which account? All of them. I tried 3 different cards. Maybe there's been some fraud. I should probably call the bank. You should probably call them right now. Sure thing. But first, we need to talk. Something in my tone made her freeze. Talk about what? About Evan Mallory, about the Seaside Inn, about the 3 months you've been lying to my face. The color drained from her cheeks. Nathan, I don't know what you— Stop. I set down my coffee cup with deliberate precision. I know everything, Lily. The messages, the hotel receipts, the jewelry you've been leaving on his boat. I even know about Vanessa's involvement. She sank into a chair, her facade finally cracking. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything. Long enough to protect myself legally and financially. Long enough to realize that the woman I married doesn't exist anymore. Tears started flowing, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. It's not what you think, she whispered. It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair with a predator who specializes in married women. You've been taking off your wedding ring and pretending to be single. You've been mocking our marriage to anyone who will listen. Nathan, please! I'm filing for divorce, I said simply. The papers will be served tomorrow. You have no access to our joint accounts because there are no more joint accounts. You have no credit cards because I canceled them. You have no claim to my assets because I've protected them legally. She stared at me in shock. You can't do this. I already have. My phone rang. Jake's name on the screen. Excuse me, I told Lily. I need to take this. Nathan, Jake's voice was tight with excitement. You need to see the news. Channel 7 just ran a story about Evan. Apparently 3 women came forward over the weekend with harassment complaints. Really? It gets better. The story mentions his yacht being vandalized, and they're treating it as connected to the harassment allegations. He's been banned from the marina. I looked at Lily, who was listening to every word with growing horror. Thanks for the update, I told Jake. I'll call you later. Lily's hands were shaking. What have you done? What you forced me to do, I replied. I protected myself from a cheating wife and her predator boyfriend. Evan's not a predator. Tell that to the 6 women who've sued him. Tell that to the 3 who filed police reports this weekend. Tell that to his wife in Connecticut, who divorced him for the same behavior. Her face went white. His wife? Oh, you didn't know Evan was married? How interesting. I guess he forgot to mention that during your romantic photo shoots. The truth hit her like a physical blow. She'd been played just as thoroughly as she'd been playing me. Lily, I said gently, you were never special to him. You were just another mark in a long line of marks. The only difference is that this time, he picked the wrong husband to mess with. She started crying harder, but I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The dinner party is still on for Saturday, I continued. I've invited everyone who matters in this town. They're all very excited to hear about your modeling career. Nathan, you can't. I can, and I will. You wanted attention, Lily. You wanted to be the center of everyone's world. Congratulations, you got your wish. I left her crying at the kitchen table and drove to work, feeling lighter than I had in months. The war was almost over. By Wednesday, the story had exploded across social media. Evan Mallory's name was trending on local Facebook groups, and the yacht club's online forum was buzzing with speculation and gossip. 3 more women had come forward with stories of his predatory behavior, and the local news had picked up the story as a cautionary tale about social media scams. Lily hadn't spoken to me since Monday's confrontation. She'd moved into our guest bedroom and spent most of her time on the phone with Vanessa, their hushed conversations stopping whenever I entered a room. I didn't care. Let them plot. It was too late to matter. Thursday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was leaving for work when I found Evan Mallory standing in my driveway, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive clothes wrinkled, and his eyes held the desperate gleam of a cornered animal. We need to talk, he said without preamble. Do we? I locked my car door and studied him with detached interest. Up close, he was smaller than I'd expected, about my height but softer, pampered by years of easy living and easier women. You know what you've done to me. My reputation, my business, everything's destroyed. I haven't done anything to you, Evan. I've simply made sure people know who you really are, and whose hands clenched into fists. You planted that evidence on my boat. You sabotaged my equipment. Did I? That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof? I know it was you. Knowing and proving are different things. You should understand that. You've been avoiding proof for years. News stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his presence. This ends now. You call off whatever campaign you're running. Or what? I interrupted. You'll what, exactly? Beat me up? That would look great in court. Threaten me? I'm recording this conversation. I held up my phone, showing the voice recorder app. You're destroying innocent people, he said desperately. Innocent? I laughed. Evan, I've seen your files. I know about the married women, the fake promises, the jewelry collection. You're about as innocent as a shark in a swimming pool. What about Lily? She doesn't deserve this. Lily made her choices. She chose to lie to me, to mock our marriage, to take off her wedding ring and pretend to be single. She chose you over me, and now she gets to live with the consequences. She loves you, you know. This was just what? A mistake? A phase? A moment of weakness? I stepped closer to him, letting my anger show for the first time. Evan, she spent 3 months planning this affair. She involved her friends, created elaborate lies, and laughed about how stupid her husband was. That's not love, that's contempt. He had no answer for that. The dinner party is Saturday night, I continued. You're invited. I think everyone would love to meet the famous photographer who's been working so closely with my wife. I'm not coming to your dinner party. Then you're a coward as well as a predator. I got in my car and drove away, leaving him standing in my driveway like the broken man he was becoming. Friday evening, I was in my office making final preparations when Lily appeared in the doorway. She looked terrible, pale, thin, exhausted by stress and shame. Nathan, we need to talk. We've talked. Tomorrow night, in front of everyone who matters. Please, can't we handle this privately? I looked up from my laptop. You didn't want privacy when you were texting Evan about how boring I was. You didn't want privacy when you were laughing with Vanessa about your secret affair. You didn't want privacy when you took off your wedding ring and pretended to be single. I made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices, over multiple months. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're embarrassed. You're scared. You're angry that you got caught. But you're not sorry. She started crying again, but the tears had no effect on me anymore. Nathan, I'll do anything. We can go to counseling, take a vacation, start over. Start over. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the street where we'd once been happy. Lily, you can't start over from betrayal. You can't rebuild trust from contempt. You can't resurrect a marriage you've already murdered. It doesn't have to be over. Yes, it does. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly, perfect weather for